Success isn't given, it's earned. And earning it means becoming the person who deserves it. The bottom line is where we cut through the chaos to simplify success, uncovering the strategies, mindset, and resilience it takes to win. Real stories, expert insights, and practical tools. Because the only way to the top is by putting in the work. This is the bottom line. Welcome back to the bottom line. I am thrilled with the conversation I'm having today with an incredible guest, Simmy. Once again, she is the founder and CEO of Prosper Financial Wellness. Simmy is a financial therapist who helps people reduce the stress and anxiety they feel around money. And today we're going to talk about so much more on why people still struggle with this, even when they are intelligent and successful. So, Simmy, welcome to the show. I love having you here. This has already been so much fun. I can't wait to dive into this.
Great. Let's get started. Can't wait either.
I'm gonna jump right in. Why do so many intelligent people still struggle with managing their money?
People struggle because they think it's intellectual. Money's not intellectual. It's not.
Mm,
We're emotional beings. There's a fabulous book. It's called Predictably Irrational by Dan Ariely. And it
mm.
just proves to us how irrational we really are. I
I like that. It's you're bringing the humanity into it because we are irrational. We can't always be logical in everything. I mean, we're wired differently. We think differently. Our emotions are valid. They are real. They're really there. And if it's something that we know controls our livelihood so much, yeah, there's going to be a lot of emotional involvement in that thing. So it leads me to another question. What are the biggest financial blind spots that hold people back from real success?
There are so many financial roadblocks that hold people back from success. A couple of them can be their relationship with money that they don't even have. So very often I'll ask a client to look around their room and describe to me in a picture what looks like money to them, what represents money to them. And it's fascinating to hear people's responses. Some people will respond, it's a straitjacket. Money is a straitjacket. Other people will respond, it's a diamond, a rough diamond, opportunity, right?
Mm.
And the relationship we have with money and the way we see money has an impact in the way we earn it. There are very many people who have the feeling that money is almost maybe the culture they grew up in. It's a shameful thing. You don't want to have more than the next person, or you're too frivolous if you have a lot of money, or you're not part of the gang, or you must have enough money. And so if someone's brought up in a culture that maybe money is not valued in a talk way where it's more like you need to do for people, you need to spend your time and energy, that is what is in value, then they sort of, if they make money, you'll see those people, they're going to end up giving it away to charity, to spending it, as long as it's not part of them. And they'll be wondering why they don't never have money if they're earning money. Usually they'll sabotage themselves from earning it. That's one really strong point.
You struck a bit of a heartstring for me because you once again brought up kind of the concept of culture and background and how that really plays into it and how that can be a big generator of the roadblocks. I know for me, my background is I come from the bottom end of the lower class. Money where I'm from was emphasized. It was made much bigger and more important than I've come to realize that it is. So from a young age, it was a big just life was all about chasing the bill, chasing the dollar to become successful, big, important, and be able to provide a life that, we didn't have access to. But as I've grown, money became less and less and less important. It's funny when you make money the goal, it'll always be fleeting. But if you make relationships, connections, serving your purpose the goal, money's automatic. So it's like you emphasized how your upbringing, your where you come from can change all that. Your perspective can. So how can someone go from feeling financially overwhelmed to feeling confident and in control?
Well, first off, I so appreciate your background because very often when people come from a struggling background, their focus is making sure maybe the next generation never has that experience. And what that may look like is I'm going to give my children everything they possibly want because I couldn't have it. And then that generation ends up growing up really feeling entitled and you don't even end up
Mm.
bringing up the generation you're thinking about because like you said, when you make money the goal, you sort of get blinded by what's important. Even to the fact where if you go with your child to the store and they say they want something and you can't afford it, if you tell the child, well, we don't want it now, or it's not our value, or maybe you need to earn it, or something like that, as opposed to saying we can't afford it, the child will grow up healthier. When you tell a child, oh, we can't afford it, that's the reason we're not getting it, their information is I need to make more money so I can get the things I want. There's no value in anything. It's just I need to afford it. Right?
Ooh, yes. Yeah, and you reminded me of something. I can't remember where I heard this from, but it's something that sticks in my mind. And I think you hit the nail right on the head. And this ties into it really, really well. Hard times make hard people. Hard people make soft times. Soft times make soft people. And it's a repeating cycle. So, like you said, some people, when they grow up in poverty, whatnot, you can definitely overlook the real value of things and what you're really after, what it's really meant to be. And there's a lot of risk factor in that. So as someone that had come from that background, I had to learn very quickly, either A, I keep chasing this thing and it's always going to run away from me, or B, I find a different reason to move, a different reason why I do what I do so that I can find that enjoyment in life. And it's not all about that rat race, for a better way to put it. So in relationships, how how do you see that you can get, or how can couples get on the same page to be driven about financial freedom and success?
Having money conversations early on, theoretical money conversations, something like, if we would want to go on a vacation, how much would we want to spend and why? What would our choice be? What would we want to get out of it? So you're starting to theoretically understand your meaning, having introspection to understand your meaning to what's important to you as a couple, as a person, so that you could sort of meld and blend together to see what will make it work, to make us feel like you say, that feeling of success doesn't come from a number. It comes from a contentment, which is from fulfillment, from feeling needed, from doing things that you feel good about, relationships, experiences. All those things will give you a better feel about yourself. So, having those conversations together theoretically before they're practical, so that you can start learning each other from not an emotional, stressful place, has that opportunity. And I love the way that you said those cycles, because I am totally like my grandmother, very less similar to my mom. And that is what happens in life. Like we sort of skip that cycle in general. Yeah.
It's funny. I really hope our viewers are getting as fired up about this as I am, because this is gold. This is real wisdom and experience and facts that are so easily overlooked. There's a concept I deal with in consulting, that the simple things are the easily overlooked things. We like to dig into stuff a little too deep sometimes, rather than stay where it's obvious and see the facts that are involved, right? And when it comes to relationships and finances, all of us are going to assume there's complications, but I think you touched base on the reality that it's valuable in so many ways to have those conversations, to have those connections, because it can inspire trust and faith in each other, and that unity of traveling in the same direction. If
Yeah. And
there's one thing I know splits people apart, it's how they feel about money. So in your life, through your experience, how have you applied some of these practices in your own life? I'm really curious. Coming from an expert, what do you do?
guys, date night, money date
Mm,
night. Money date night has nothing to do with regular global conversations about the family, nothing to do with the stresses of every day. I mean, sometimes we need to have those, but money date night is an experience. So you want to make sure that there's music. Maybe there's ice cream if that's what's necessary. There's an ambiance to it when we have these money conversations, maybe once a month, to talk about what we would like for next month, or what's going on, and what would we be happy with, to create that feeling of contentment, togetherness, teamwork, feeling the relationship. Because when the relationship is strong, we know that money stresses are the number one source of stress in America, across the globe. So we want to make sure that, and sometimes when there's money stress, it looks like my relationship is in stress. It's not true. I want
mm,
your viewers to remember, guys out there, if there's money stress, it doesn't mean your relationship's over. Doesn't mean that your relationship's at stake. Sometimes money magnifies problems. And so whether a person feels that they're frivolous or whether the person feels that there's not enough or it's not being used properly or tended to, there's a lot of feeling about it. So just be mindful of that.
That was beautifully put, and I like the angle that you just pointed out there. Just because you're having money problems doesn't mean things are over or it's going to go sideways completely. I like to look at it as reframing the setback. And this is one of my big points when it comes to communication keynotes, and that's reframing how you look at this. A problem, an issue, a struggle, conflict, confrontation, all of it can be an opportunity to grow together more, to become better for each other, to become stronger for each other. And finances shouldn't be looked at any other way. It's just another opportunity to simplify and to get on the same page. And I like the experience that you're sharing there because it's hard to want to listen to somebody that doesn't have that kind of experience themselves. So, leading into this next conversation, I'm really curious as to what are some of the practical routines that we can apply in our day to day life to keep that financial conversation relevant and always in the front part of the mind. So, what are some of the quick 10-second routines you have in your morning that get you prepared to be financially strong and disciplined?
Well, first, one of my routines, honestly, is seeing who showed up for me today. So when I wake up, I sit down for my coffee and I'm like, okay, what's showing up for me today? Oh, here's Mr. Imposter Syndrome. Whatever decisions I'm making ain't coming from me today. Or, oh, here's Mr. Anxiety, right? All these things, all these emotions that we have going on, if I'm not aware, the same thing that will happen with my money today will feel completely different when I'm in a different frame of mind.
I've
So
got to jump in right there. Imposter syndrome. We've definitely got to talk more about that because there's so much value in that concept. So, our viewers, don't go anywhere. You got to grab a pen and a pad. We're going to be right back on the bottom line.